Sometimes the best food comes from places you would never expect. This restaurant doesn't have a Michelin star. It doesn't even look like somewhere you would find great food. But there's a reason this place caught my attention. Hi guys, I'm Anya and I review restaurants around the world. From Michelin star dining to unique places that really stand out for their food and creativity. Today I'm taking you to Playa Chica in La Manga, Spain. Playa Chica is very different from the restaurants I usually review. This is not a fine dining restaurant and they don't offer a tasting menu or a set menu. It's a relaxed beach restaurant focused mainly on seafood and Mediterranean flavors, where the food is meant to be enjoyed casually right next to the sea. But I wanted to include this place because sometimes the most memorable meals come from places you least expect. When we first noticed Playa Chica, we were actually just looking for places to eat in the area. It was still out of season, so many restaurants weren't open yet. When we drove past this place, we saw it was open, so we looked it up online, but honestly, the photos and reviews didn't really impress us much. Still, we decided to give it a try. And what happened next was completely unexpected. When we arrived, the restaurant was completely full, and the waiting time for a table was 45 minutes. What we also noticed immediately was that almost everyone there was Spanish, not foreigners. That alone made us curious. So we decided to stay at the bar, have a glass of wine, and see what this place was all about. Playa Chica is located in La Manga del Mar Menor, a narrow strip of land between the Mediterranean Sea and the Mar Menor Lagoon. From Alicante, it's about a 2-hour drive, and from Murcia, it's around 45 minutes by car. From my place in La Manga, the restaurant is within walking distance, but many of the people we met there had actually come from other towns in the region, which shows that people are willing to travel here just to eat. The restaurant is located directly on the Mar Menor side of La Manga, right next to the water. Inside Playa Chica, the atmosphere is very casual. The restaurant is partly open, with a roof and plastic covers on the sides that can be closed when needed. The tables and chairs are simple and practical, and the place itself is what in Spain is called a chiringuito, a type of beach bar where people come for seafood, drinks, and lunch after spending time on the beach. Nothing about this place feels formal. The restaurant is usually very busy, and the whole place has that lively Spanish atmosphere, very loud with people talking across the tables, waiters moving quickly between guests, and plates of seafood are constantly coming out of the kitchen. From the tables, you have incredible views of the Mar Menor, with boats passing by and people swimming nearby. As already mentioned, Playa Chica doesn't offer a tasting menu. This is the kind of place where you order different dishes from the menu and share them at the table. Since I've been here several times, I want to talk about some of the dishes that I've tried over the different visits and the ones that really stood out to me. One of the first things we tried were scallops served in their shells. They are served with the mussel still attached, which I personally really enjoy. In many restaurants, that part is removed during cleaning, but in some of the best restaurants I've visited, it's actually kept because it shows the scallop in its full form and adds extra flavor. The scallops were beautifully cooked and very fresh. Another starter I really liked was the tuna tataki in homemade ponzu sauce with a trio of pearls. This might actually be my favorite starter here. The tuna was incredibly fresh and cut so well that it almost melted in the mouth. I've had this dish on different visits, and the first time it was served with a little less sauce, which I personally preferred because the plating looked a little cleaner, but at the same time, I completely understand why they're generous with the ponzu here, because it's honestly so delicious. Another dish that surprised me was the scallop tartare with raspberry and coconut. The dish tasted incredibly fresh, and the combination worked beautifully together. Honestly, this is the kind of dish you would expect to see in a fine dining restaurant. We also tried the battered squid, which is a dish you find in many restaurants and beach bars around La Manga and in Spain in general. I'm usually not the biggest fan of deep fried dishes like this, but here it was done particularly well. The batter was light and thin, and the squid itself was cooked perfectly. The next dish I want to mention is the baked octopus legs served with purple mashed potatoes. This is probably my favorite dish here. My husband even says it's the best octopus he has ever tried. And I have to say, it's probably one of the best octopus dishes I've had as well, especially the texture of the octopus. It was incredibly soft and tender and not chewy at all, which octopus often tend to be. It was cooked beautifully. We also tried the paella with duck and foie gras. Now, I love paella, I love duck, and I love foie gras, so I was very curious about this combination. It was very good and definitely interesting, and it was actually the first time I've tried paella like this. But if I'm being completely honest, it didn't make quite a strong impression on me as I expected, even though I know it's one of the most popular dishes here. In general, I really love dishes with strong flavors, and here I felt like the flavor of the duck and foie gras could have come through a little more. Because of that, I think I personally prefer a seafood paella. Another dish that impressed me was the lobster served with garlic, eggs, and potatoes. At first, I wasn't sure about the combination, and I actually thought about ordering different sides, but the staff recommended trying it in the traditional way, and I'm very glad I listened. The lobster was cooked beautifully, and the potatoes and eggs worked surprisingly well with it. There are also several fish dishes on the menu that I haven't tried yet, and the seafood platters look amazing as well. So next time I come here, I might try something different. Although honestly, it will be difficult not to order the octopus and the tuna tataki again. When it comes to the service, it's important to remember that Playa Chica is not a fine dining restaurant. This is a chiringuito, and the service reflects that kind of place. The restaurant is usually extremely busy, and the staff moves constantly between the tables in that very typical, energetic Spanish style, so everything runs at a fast pace. But the service is actually surprisingly efficient. Despite how busy it is, we have always been welcomed very warmly here. Most of the staff doesn't speak English, but whenever we had questions about the dishes, they would call over someone who could explain everything to us. And honestly, that's completely fine with me. While talking to the staff, we also found out that the owners had recently changed, which probably explained why it felt so different from what we had seen online. What really surprised me about Playa Chica is the level of food. From the outside, it looks like a very simple bar, and you wouldn't expect dishes of this quality. Some of the dishes honestly felt like something you could find in a fine dining restaurant. At times, I find myself thinking that with this high level of cooking, they could easily offer tasting menus and make the restaurant itself more beautiful. La Manga has many restaurants, and some of the restaurants in the same area are very beautiful, but in terms of the food, none of them really reach this level. At the same time, I also understand that this is not something people come here for. The place has a very strong local vibe, and that relaxed beach atmosphere is clearly what makes this place so popular. And that's exactly why I wanted to include it in my reviews, because sometimes the places that look the simplest are the ones that surprise you the most. And that brings us to the end of this review. If you enjoy discovering restaurants like this, make sure to subscribe, because there are many more restaurant reviews and other contents coming soon. And if you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.